The other one is a threat. So finally, so what is a threat? Is something is accessing your network with the unavoidable as well as the unbehavior, the different behavior which is coming to your network. So let us say you have you enable the AMP in your endpoint. That means the ISE along with the any connect you have the AMP. So what happens if any malware, that means the file is affected, then the agent will trigger and it will send the endpoint notification to the cloud. So the cloud will send the thread from the GIM devices to the ISE. So ISE will, here you can see, it won't allow to connect to the network. So it will send the quarantine VLAN. That means you just clean yourself first to the network in the cloud. Okay, then you can connect to the network. So here you can see this is a live log which we can see in the ISE. So you have MAC address and the username. What is the IP address of that and threat detected? So what is the source? That means this agent is installed the AMP. So what is the threat severity? It's a painful. So once it's done, then the ISE will allow them to access the network. This is how the flow is worked. So the end user has the AnyConnect, which is related to the poster to validate the endpoint. The other one, what they have is an AMP. So it is a anti-malware protection. Okay. So this software is sending to the cloud, and the cloud will indicate to the ISE, and the ISE will not allow him to connect to the network and give the full access. Instead of that, the ISE will send the quarantine VLAN when the user can go and clean themselves to the cloud instead of connecting to the network. That means isolated network connectivity where they can go and access where they can go and clean themselves in the cloud. Once they clean, then ISE will get notified. Then it will allow them to access the network in full access with a different VLAN. That means different network path. So here you can see the decision. So here you can see the decision, how the ISE with the different context awareness. So poor context awareness and rich context awareness. So when the unknown or without ISE, how the behavior. So you can see only the IP address. You cannot see what is unknown. So when again is unknown, how is unknown. So everything you cannot predict. So if you go to the ISE environment, so you can see who is it. It's Bob is the employee. So this is the users, and what that means, what kind of platform they are coming, and when they access, and where, which location, how, that means what kind of access type, network device type, is it wireless or wired or VPN, and what kind of application they are using, and what is their all specification, like a serial number, CPU, memory, everything is specified. So here, if you have this kind of information, then you can see the result is allowed and it's compliance. If not allowed, then you cannot access anything. So this is the main things what you have, and a lot of enterprises today, okay, they are today suffering during the incident response. So everyone is facing the same one in defining effective security policy without adequate of different context. A security practice without the context is very strange. Okay, so inefficient and it can be easily compromised. From the security perspective, an IP address tells me nothing. So here you can see only the IP address. We cannot find out the other parameters. It's something like nothing. So with ISE, if you have ISE, in your environment, you will see always know what happened. In our example, you can see. So ICE can tell us that Bob, who is an employee, so has connected at 10:30 a.m. PST. Also using his corporate machine, which is running on Windows 7. You can see here. So corporate machine, which is running on Windows 7. So from the building 19, you can see he is coming from the 19 over the wireless network. So it can also tell us what version of software his laptop is running. So here you can see what version of laptop is running, and the list of application available on the specific device. So what are the application is running on his specific devices. And additionally, I can get the details on the hardware, so the serial number, CPU, and memory. Last, it will tell you what policy was applied, which translate to the resource that Bob is guaranteed access to. That means the authorization policy. So this kind of information you can have when you have with the Cisco ISE in your environment. So this is the basic, the fundamental of ISE, how it flows. So now we are coming to the ISE architecture. So in ISE architecture, where you can see the different kind of option. So you have each and every instant, we call as the instant, each and every ISE we call as the instant. So it will be the physical appliance or virtual appliance. So you can have a physical appliance or virtual appliance. So we call as the three kind of services is provided. One is administration, which is called PAN. Okay. The other one is policy services, and the third one is a monitoring. So what is administration is nothing but it's a single point of ISE deployment configuration. That means you can log into the ISE and from the GUI, and you can do the full access administration and make the configuration. Okay. The second one is a policy services. So policy service is nothing but they handle the traffic between the network devices and ISE. So you have network devices like switches, wireless, and VPN, all the devices. So ISE PSN will always handle the traffic between these devices using the radius services. Okay. So the third one is monitoring. So monitoring is nothing but is a log aggregation across a different device node. Okay. These are the basic type what we have in the ISE. The other one is the role. So you have a different kind of role in the ISE. One is a standalone. So it's nothing but you can have a single standalone deployment. So node is not aware for each other and act alone. That means it is a separate network entity. The second one is active and standby. Something like primary fails. That means you have two ISE, and one will act as a primary, the other one will act as a secondary. If the active is failed, then the secondary will take over. In this case, the secondary is manually promoted to primary. So you can play the HA role in the ISE in different kind of scenario. So this is a basic architect. And now coming to the deployment. So in the standalone ISE, so it will be a single node in the virtual or appliance space. So it will support 20,000 concurrent endpoints. If you go to the multi-node ISE, that means multiple ISE in your network. So you can have 5 lakh concurrent endpoints. So this is something like I have more than lakh users my infrastructure. So whether I can able to manage? Yes, you can able to manage. So again, here you can see the policy server node, PSN. so which will mainly focus on the policy decision and the Radius and Tekka servers. The other one is a monitoring one, so which will mainly focus on the reporting and logging the nodes. It's something like you can collect the log, so when the user comes, accounting purpose. Okay, so this is two kind of deployment option. We can also call it a small deployment where you have the a small deployment where you have two total ICE nodes. Let us say both of which run all the three required ICE personas. Like in here, you can see all the personas details. Okay, both nodes will likely to be placed in the same data center, and it will communicate each other in the campus network over the WAN. Okay, so for all authentication services, this could mean the failure of the WAN could result in the loss of authentication service for those affected sites. So this is something like a small deployment. If you go the medium deployment, you can have 7 ICE nodes. So small deployment, you can have 2 ICE nodes. Everything is related to the HA. If you go to the medium, you can have 7 total ICE nodes. And if you go to the large, you can have up to 54 ICE nodes in your deployment. So everything is based on the deployment method, which will give the best visibility to the network. Now coming to the other part is ICE install option. So far we have seen the architect and the deployment method. So is there any specific appliance based, or it will based on the different vendor based? So here you can see. So ICE, where you have the separate appliance, like a Cisco Secure Network Servers, it's a hardware based, which comes from the Cisco. Or you can have the image in the different VMware hypervisor, so where you can have the OVA file and install in the hypervisor, and you have the KVM hypervisor where you can install the ICE, and you have Microsoft Hyper-V. So each and every different platform, you can have the virtual ICE in this particular vendor product. So apart from the Cisco, the standalone appliance. Okay. So this is the main information you need to know. So what kind of method we can install the ICE? So it should be the appliance based, or it should be in the VM based method.